And welcome back, fourth and long fans. It's your footy correspondent, Coach Donnie Hess here. And ladies and gentlemen, I have a wonderful surprise here today. I thought since we're in the off season of the AFLW, I would try to reach out and find a way to chat with some AFLW players. And today I have the pleasure of talking to from the North Melbourne Tasmanian Kangaroos, Miss Daisy Bateman. Daisy, it is great to have you on.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Like I always like to do in my chats with people, when I do this, I like to kind of find out who the person I'm talking to besides footy. I think we all love footy. We all like talking about it, but let's find out a little bit more about who Daisy Bateman is.
Cool. So I'm 21 years of age. I grew up in Melbourne, Victoria. I went to school here, and I got drafted to North Melbourne in when I was 18, so just after I finished school. Outside of football, I'm a uni student. I'm studying a Bachelor of Media and Communications at a university called RMIT, which is in the city of Melbourne. I work two jobs. I actually edit for the AFL. I'm a video producer there. So I collate all of the match highlights for some of the games on the weekends. And then I'm also working at North in the media team. So I work at North Melbourne at the club. So yeah, that's pretty much my life outside of football, but I guess it coincides with life inside of football too.
Well, you're just a football maniac. You can never get away with it, huh?
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay, so we'll go to this. I'd love to find this out because again, growing up as an American, I don't have the football background that many people in Australia have. So, can you tell me what was your earliest memory of football?
It would have to be actually probably watching my brother play when my brother was maybe 9 years old. When you're nine here, you play something called tackers, which is like the earliest stage of football in junior footy. So my brother played, my older brother Jack, but actually growing up, we weren't allowed to play football. So some of the girls weren't actually allowed to play. There weren't teams that were available for women. So I guess I started playing when I was 14, which is quite later than a lot of the young guys that play here. A lot of people start at, Oz kick at 6 years old or 5 years old. And I guess I was one of the people that started a bit later, but I played basketball as well as football. So I had a couple of sports to play as well as footy. So that was good.
Yeah, and it's definitely translates. I played basketball as a kid, and when I
Yeah.
got into footy, it was one of the things I think it really helped translate. The skills are relatively similar. So, I got to ask. I know you play for North Melbourne, but what
Yep.
team did you support when you were growing up?
I supported the Geelong Cats. Yeah, I was a big Cats fan growing up. So yeah, I guess I still have a soft spot for them, but I do support the boys at North now.
Is there any way that you would think about joining the Geelong AFLW, or are you a North Melbourne person for life?
I'm definitely North Melbourne for life. I think, especially at this point in my life. Geelong's down the highway. It's about an hour down the highway, near the coast. So it would be a big lifestyle change if I was to move down there, and I'm pretty happy with my life at the moment. So
That's good to hear. So you said you were drafted at 18. So let's do a real quick rewind to you. 18 years old. It's draft night.
yeah,
What was the first thought that went through your head when you heard your name called, being drafted to North Melbourne?
I was blown away to be honest. When the Roos expanded, so the Roos weren't here in the infant stages of the competition, but when they came in, they got a bunch of stars. So the Emma Carneys of the world, Jazz Garner, Jess Duff, and Caitlin Ashmore, the big names. I guess getting drafted to North was, it was crazy because I was about to play with some of the most experienced players in the competition. And it's funny, before the draft, you go through like interview processes with all of the teams, and North probably showed me the least interest out of all the teams. So it was the last team that I was expected to go to. But when my name got called out, I thought like it was an amazing opportunity, and it was the best thing that was going to benefit my footy as well, which was great. Yeah.
That's awesome. So I got to ask, who reacted bigger, your of your parents?
Definitely mum. My brother was the most excited by far, actually. Yeah, everyone was. Yeah, I took actually. I think it was 9 of my friends and family. So I had, yeah, a choir of people very excited for me.
Awesome, awesome. So you're relatively young into your professional days. But
Yeah,
so far, what's your biggest accomplishment as a footballer?
as a footballer. It probably. I'm gonna say so. I'm gonna say a team accomplishment because I can't go past my second year of footy at North. We made it to I think it was the pre-elimination final against Collingwood, and it was when COVID really started to hit Australia. So we won the final by I think it was 7 points, but it really came down to the wire, and we won, and it was one of the best feelings in the world. I cannot describe it to you. It was amazing, but unfortunately, 2 days later, the season got cancelled. So we were setting ourselves up really well for a premiership, and yeah, it got taken away in a second. So, but that would have been probably my greatest accomplishment is being part of like a win like that and contributing to the win as well. It was one of the best moments of my career by far.
That's awesome, and that's really shows kind of how you approach it, which that's really cool to see a team being an accomplishment that you're really
Yeah,
good with.
definitely.
So going back to the club, I gotta ask, this would be great. Who is your best mate at North Melbourne?
Oh, my best mate. That's a hard one. I've got a lot of best mates in my team. I'd probably say Caitlin Ashmore. She's probably yeah one of my best mates around here. Has been since the start I got here, and yeah, there's so many people up there that I'm really lucky to have so many friends in my team.
Oh, that's really cool that you've got a great environment there with a bunch of older players and some superstars. I mean, what's the club rooms like? I mean, does everybody get along with each other? Is it happy go lucky? Are you a playful team? Are you a serious team? Like what's kind of like the rooms like during a normal day?
I'd say we've got a really good mixture, like a really healthy balance between really serious but really fun. We've got like our captain Emma Carney. She's so professional. Like you look at her and you're in awe of her, but she also knows how to have fun, and I think she sets that tone for the rest of the team. The club room's always really fun before a game or trainings. You know, everyone's listening to music, dancing, getting around it, but when it's go time, and I think that's the good balance between having fun off the field. Like you love coming to the club because you're always going to have fun, but as soon as it's go time and it's game time, everyone just switches into serious mode, which is it's a really good balance because I think everyone kind of relates to it. Everyone can embody the same kind of attitude around, which is pretty helpful. Yeah.
Okay, and I know with the women's, unfortunately, you're not full-time pro, which I'm hoping, I'm crossing my fingers every day that it happens sooner rather than later. But
Yeah.
kind of run me through what is a typical day for Daisy Bateman during the season, like say a training day.
Yeah. So during the season, we train a couple of nights a week, but I'll talk you through a training day. So I'd get up in the morning and come to work. So that whether that be at the club or somewhere else, I'd go to work or I'd study at uni. So it kind of depends on my timetable of a day. But say I go to uni at 8:30 in the morning till around 1 p.m. And then I'd come into the club and work in the media team for the afternoon and make sure I cross off everything I need to. And then training starts we have to be here around 5 to 5:30, and we probably don't leave until around 10. So it's a full load of work over the day, and you get home and you're pretty exhausted. But the good thing is you don't really see footy to be a chore or work. It's kind of something that's an outlet, and we're just really lucky to get paid for it. So yeah, that's pretty much my full day. It's pretty hectic, yeah.
And then what's a typical game day like? Like how early are you at the club? I mean, is it like for like a home game? How's kind of your day and during a normal game day?
Yeah, so I think if you asked all 30 girls in our team what they do before a game, you'd get 30 different answers.
Hmm.
Depending on what time the game is, you have to be at a game 2 hours before it starts. So if the game starts at 2 p.m., you have to be here at 12 p.m. And you basically just get to wherever the game is, and you kind of hang out with everyone, talk and, kind of get to know what's going on. And then you eat something, you go do warm up outside. Some people like to go outside and have a kick. I like to go outside and have a kick, and then you kind of get taped and worked on by the physios, and then before you know it, it's go time, which is pretty crazy because you go out for warm up and then you come back in and you have to put your jumper on, and then you go back out and you're just like, oh God, the game's starting now. So you don't really have a lot of time to prepare yourself, but you do at the same time. So yeah.
Oh, okay. So we go from there. As I always like finding this out as being a player that picked up the game a little bit later. Was there a player, men's, women's, either or, that you kind of model your game after, that you kind of feel like you play like?
Oh, I would love to think I play like. I loved watching Jimmy Bartell growing up.
Mhm.
Watch him at the Cats. Probably Jimmy Bartell and Gary Ablett Jr. Both probably my favorite players of all time. I think Jimmy Bartell played a bit more of the small forward role that I play. But I definitely like watching his game and taking little bits out of it and trying to model it into my game. But yeah, if I ended up being half the player of Jimmy Bartell or Gary Ablett, I would be so happy with myself. So
Well,
yeah, it's good to have examples.
you definitely see some all Australian teams for sure, and maybe even a few flags for sure if you can play like those
Yeah.
two great players. I know again it's a short time in the AFL, but who is your toughest opponent that you have played in the AFLW?
Um, I would probably say the easy answer would be Erin Phillips. We came up against her year one of the competition, and she is so strong and so fit. You kind of watch her games and you're like, okay, like she's good, but you think, oh, I could compete with her. And then as soon as you come up against her, it's a whole new world. Like she's so strong and athletic and smart. And I think if you've got the smarts and then you've got the skills to back it up, no one's going to ever stop you. So I think she would be the hardest, but I'd actually nominate someone in my own team. I'd say Emma Carney. Um, we scrimmage a bit at training and verse each other, and she's the fiercest competitor. I've never met anyone that doesn't want to be beaten so much in my life. She would do anything to be the one that comes out on top, and I think that I admire her in that sense because she's that person at training that pushes you to the limits because she's willing to push herself. So I'd probably say she's been my hardest opponent to come up against, but I'm so lucky that she's in my team because I would hate her on the other team.
That's great. So going off that, so we go with toughest opponent. Where's the toughest place to play? Where's the one place that you've played games that you're like, man, it's hard to play here?
That's actually the easiest answer. This place called Casey Fields.
Hmm.
It's in Cranbourne, so it's east, and it is always windy. I don't think I've ever played a game of football that is not windy there. Um, it's the most annoying place to play, and we seem to get it in our draw every single year. I think we've played there 3 years in a row. So I'm hoping this year's fixture does not include us playing at Casey Fields because it is the most annoying place to play. And yeah, every year when you see a fixture come out, you're just like, oh no, not Casey Fields, just simply because of the wind and the unpredictability of conditions. So that would be the hardest place by far.
Yeah, I keep hearing that every person I talk to down in Victoria that I've talked to says Casey is not only is it way far out there, it's like in no man's land, but you can
Yeah,
never not play in the wind when you play at Casey's, and Melbourne plays that ground so
yeah,
well. Every game that I saw them, they play Casey so well.
yeah.
Um, I love seeing this is that with the growth of women's footy in all of the states throughout Australia, if you were to talk to a younger you or a young girl, what was the best advice that you would give them if they were looking to become an AFLW player in the future?
A hard question. I would probably go back and tell myself just to not really care what anyone else thinks. Just as simple as that. I think I was really lucky because I grew up with a mum that told me that every day, just do you and don't worry about what anyone else thinks. So I feel like if I could go back and reiterate that to myself, I would. But I was so lucky to have a mum that told me that every day because I've seen so many young girls go through primary school, go through high school, just caring too much about what people think about them playing a male dominated sport or being in a male dominated industry. I think that has a stigma in itself, especially in terms of AFL footy. You kind of hear about, yesterday I did a school clinic with some little kids in Camberwell just around the corner, and this little boy came up to me and said, "Oh, I saw a video of a girl in AFLW kicking it from the goal square and completely missing," and he was laughing, and he was just laughing. And I said, "Oh, well, I'm sure a lot of men have done that in their life as well, but I think that you kind of have little girls wanting to play footy but having other people tell them, or this is what happened, or this is what women playing footy are like and stuff." So I think if I could go back to myself and reiterate that, and even my friends, just to say, don't care what anyone else thinks, just do what you want to do. Like, life's too short to worry about what anyone else thinks, because you're just going to waste opportunities. So I was really lucky though in saying that, because my mum reiterated that to me every day. So I never forgot that ever. And that's probably one of the main reasons why I'm here now, just because you can't worry about that kind of stuff.
Absolutely great advice in my personal opinion. And for me, with me coaching a team here in town, is I'm getting girls, and I think you can always tell that they're a little intimidated because the guys are around. And I go, you just
Yeah.
play, just have fun, because that's the biggest thing here is let them enjoy it. And seeing the growth of women's footy in Australia is absolutely spectacular. I want to rewind just a little bit and go
Mm-hmm.
to North Melbourne season this last year. I mean, for
Yeah.
you, kind of what were your thoughts on this? What were your thoughts on this year? I mean, would you consider it a success? You made the finals. Yes, you probably didn't go as far as you wanted to. I think everybody's goal at the start of the year is to win a flag, and North Melbourne makes the final, falls a little bit short in that first final. Kind of, what were your thoughts on this year's North Melbourne team, and do you see a move up next year, or kind of what's your thoughts on next season?
Yeah, I think this year was really unique for us out of the 3 years I've played. We had a transition of coaches in between last year and this year. We have different head coaches now, so I think our system changed a little bit in between last year to this year, and I think that's why we're all so excited for next year, because we've kind of, by the end of the season, we got, we were starting to play the way we really wanted to play. We played here at Arden Street against Fremantle just before the final series, and we won by 1 point against one of the best, oppositions in the league. And we won by 1 point because we played the way we wanted to. I think I would call it a success to an extent, but I wouldn't say that anyone in the team is fully satisfied at all. Because I think that we know we can be better, which is why we're pretty excited. So I would say that next year there'll definitely be a step up, because I think even our coach now probably feels more comfortable with all of us, has built really good relationships with us, that now we kind of have a system and that we can kind of work things out the way we want to. So I think that it's pretty exciting to see where we could go. So I do think there'll be a step up. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great to hear. And I know you answered your earlier thing saying your biggest accomplishment was a team goal, but do you have any goals personally for this upcoming season?
Um, oh, yeah, definitely. I think I'd be lying to you if I didn't say I didn't. I definitely just want to keep pushing myself and be the best that I can be. I think every year I've improved a little bit, especially on the track. I've gotten a lot better at standards and knowing what is expected of me and making sure that I tick those boxes. But I think that when you tick enough boxes, you can go more. And I think that this year I really want to push myself and get, the fittest I have been, the strongest I have been. And yeah, at the end of every season, you kind of think to yourself, oh gosh, I really want to step it up next year. And I think that's probably what I really want to do. My main goal is just to take that step further and, get better at my role for the team as well. So yeah, it's hard to say accolades or anything, because I don't think I'm quite in that league yet, but hopefully one day.
Who knows? It's development. You're only 3 years in. You still got
Exactly.
plenty. You got plenty of time to grow great
Exactly.
from there. I want to do this. This is always fun because I want to hear this.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you. You're the list manager for a day. You can bring in
Okay.
any player from the AFLW on to North Melbourne. Who's the player you bring in and why?
Gosh, that's a hard question. I would probably say Chelsea Randall from the Adelaide Crows. I think she's rated very highly, but I don't think she's rated highly enough.
Mm-hmm.
She's one of the most ridiculously talented players that is so courageous. She, she patrols the half-back line, and she can play up forward. She's very versatile, and I think that she's, from all reports, she's a very good person off the field. So I think that, if there's anyone in the league, obviously that's a really, really hard question to answer, but the first person that came to mind was Chelsea Randall, just because I think that she's really talented.
Yeah, a very, very good one, and definitely a classy player after everything that
Yeah.
she kind of went through this year. Let's step away from football for just a second. I know, are you keeping an eye on the men's season this year? And who's your favorite to win the flag?
Cool. I am keeping an eye on it. I have to. That's actually half my job at the AFL. So it's hard. Before the bye, I probably would have said Richmond, because you never know what they're going to bring out after the bye and around finals time. Just because they're very good. If they sneak inside the top 8, I reckon they're a fair chance. Just because they have so much finals experience, but they're quite injury riddled at the moment. I think Geelong are probably a good chance. That's probably a controversial answer considering I used to barrack for them. But they're also a team that have so much finals experience, and they have leaders that have been through premierships like Joel Selwood, and they've got some really good heads on shoulders there. So I think that they're probably a good chance. They'd be my hot tip at the moment.
Awesome. And how excited are the people of Victoria that all 18 clubs currently are in Victoria?
Uh, Honestly, you would not have guessed it. Victoria have been in and out of lockdown. We have been in and out of lockdown for a good year now. So it's the most unpredictable thing ever. But yeah, if you had told me 3 months ago that every team would have been in Victoria hubbing, I would not have believed it. So yeah, it's very surprising.
It has been a crazy, crazy year. COVID is just thrown curveball after curveball, but I have to give the AFL a little bit of credit. They have continued to stay ahead of it. I'm so happy this year. The women's season got through. It had to deal with a few issues. They got through. The men's looks like it is going to do the same. We are kind of rounding down to the end, and one of my favorite questions, I love asking this because I always get some really good answers. What is
Yep.
your most favorite game that you have ever seen of footy? Men's, women's, your call.
Okay. Okay, I would say probably I think it was 2011 or 2010 grand final. It was Geelong versus St Kilda. It was the men's game. Maybe it was 2009. I'm not sure. It was one of the in between those 3 years. I watched it at home with my family and a couple of friends, and Geelong were down at halftime to St Kilda in the grand final, and I don't know what happened at halftime, but they came out on top and they actually won the premiership. I'm so lucky actually to have grown up with premierships with the team I barrack for. It's like the rarest thing around here. There's so many of my friends that barrack for their teams that have not seen a premiership in so long. So I'm very lucky that I grew up with, I think it was 3 when I was at by the age of 12, I'd seen 3 premierships of the team I'd grown up barracking for, it's rare here. So yeah, it definitely would have been one of Geelong's grand finals just because it was pretty amazing. Yeah.
This is almost really interesting. I believe that is the 2009 grand final that you're talking about. That
Yes.
Chapman kicks the goal at the end.
Yes.
Because St Kilda if I remember correctly, St Kilda plays Collingwood in 2010 because
Yeah.
that's the draw grand
The
final.
draw. Yep.
That goes to the next year. So really
Correct.
interesting that I remember that because the 2009
Yeah.
grand final was the first grand final I tuned into live since I
Oh,
had
wow.
re-upped since I got back into the game after I saw it as a kid. I'm kind of odd. I saw it when I was 7 or 8. We had a channel called the Fox Sports World Channel, and it played
Oh, wow.
rugby, it played cricket, it played Aussie rules. So I knew about it a little bit younger in kind of differently than most Americans. And then I ran into the local team that I play for, the Des Moines Roosters, in
Yep.
2009, and the grand final was being played on television. And that was the first full grand final I had watched as a footy kind of player as well. So yeah,
Right.
2009 grand final, a really, really good grand final in my personal
Yeah.
opinion.
There you go.
The toe poke from Maddie Scarlett to Ablett, who
Uh,
bombs it down to the goal square, is still one of the most iconic plays in grand final history next to I will open it up. I know most of my fans know it. I am a Sydney Swans supporter. So the Leo Barry mark in 2005 is still one
Yes.
of my favorite all-time
Yep.
moments in grand final history, at least personally. I try not to be too much of a homer when it comes to it.
Yeah.
Daisy, this has been an absolutely awesome conversation. It is so great to meet you. This has been an incredible situation. This kind of came together really quickly. I want to thank you again for this. Please thank Carla for me. That was awesome that she was able to reach
Absolutely.
out and get a hold of me. Um, since some of their fans are here, are you on social media? And is there any way, if you want to, you can kind of tell us your social media so that any of the followers can follow you and keep an eye on your progress as an AFLW player.
Yeah, so my Instagram is just Daisy Bateman. So yeah, no, thank you so much for having me as well. It's been really enjoyable and really amazing that you're raising the awareness in America of, about the game. It's an amazing game. It, needs to be publicized more. So thank you so much.
True. And then if you get a shot, I'll let you know this. If you ever talk to Erin Phillips, talk to her
Yeah.
about USAFL Nationals. We have a national
Okay.
tournament every year in October where all of the teams here in town, crazy enough, I don't know if you know this, there are 50 clubs throughout the
Oh
USA.
wow.
Yep, there are
Wow.
clubs through all out through. There's one in Hawaii. There's one and everything in between. We have a national tournament every year in October where we all get together and it's basically a footy weekend. We start playing on
Oh
Saturday,
wow.
we play through Sunday. There are 4 men's divisions and 2 women's divisions. So
Okay.
there are a lot of women's teams that are over here. So we're definitely trying to help. In fact, Danny Marshall, who plays for the Western Bulldogs,
Yeah.
played in our USAFL Nationals. So
Oh
many of us
wow.
are quite yeah, many of us are quite proud of her for making it over in the AFLW. And I think several of us are hoping that somebody picks her up off the
Yeah.
delisted. Unfortunately, we're crossing our fingers over here that
Yeah.
our kind of our beacon to American footy will get re-signed.
Definitely.
Yeah. So you have a wonderful day today. I know it is still morning over there. You still have plenty of daylight still to get through. Stay safe over there in those COVID times. Enjoy the footy, and maybe we can talk again. Maybe once the season gets a little bit closer.
Sounds good to me. Definitely. You too. Stay safe.
That would be awesome, Daisy. You have a good night, and that is it for our chat here, Fourth and Long fans. We will see you again another time.